You ever hear a story so insane that a part of you doesn't even want to believe it, because if it's true, it changes everything you think you know about the world? Yeah, that's where we're starting. Imagine this: a CIA agent sitting face to face with Osama bin Laden, not in some dusty cave in the middle of nowhere, but in a setting that feels almost staged, like two chess players across the table. No guns, no explosions, just a conversation, and you're asking yourself, why would that happen? How would that happen? And the bigger question, what the hell does that even mean for the rest of us? And see, that's where most people stop. They hear something like that, and it becomes just a headline, just a weird story to tell their friends. But they don't dig, they don't ask, what does this say about the world, about power, about control, about how the game is really played? Because if you go down that rabbit hole, you really start asking yourself who's pulling strings, who's making decisions, you're going to run into something uncomfortable. You're going to realize that almost everything you think you know has been shaped by people who never asked for your permission. And when you realize that you're faced with a choice, keep pretending you're in control or accept that you've been living in someone else's version of reality. And that's where the fear creeps in, because if a meeting like that can happen, if the people we're told are enemies can sit down like it's a business negotiation, then maybe the whole script we've been given is just theater, and maybe we've been the audience for far too long. And here's where it gets personal, because this isn't just about them, it's about you. How many of your own beliefs, your own habits, your own fears are just the product of someone else's design? How much of your time is spent chasing distractions they gave you so you'd never have to face the truth about yourself? Think about it. You wake up, and before you've even had a real thought, you're on your phone, scrolling through noise someone somewhere decided that was a good idea, because if your mind is busy with junk, it's not free to question anything, and questioning is dangerous not just for them, but for you, because the second you start questioning, you can't unsee the cracks in the wall, you can't unhear the silence between the words you've been fed, and then it becomes a choice: live in comfort or live in truth. And truth is ugly, man. Truth is cold. It's the kind of thing that will keep you up at night. It'll strip away your excuses. It'll force you to see yourself naked. No filters, no stories, just raw you. And that's why most people run from it, because it's easier to believe the show than to walk backstage and see the wires. But here's the deal: if you never go backstage, you'll never understand how the world works. And if you never understand how the world works, you'll always be a pawn in someone else's game. So yeah, maybe the CIA sat across from bin Laden. Maybe that meeting was about more than anyone will ever admit. Maybe it was about power. Maybe it was about control. Maybe it was just two men playing their roles. But here's the question: what role are you playing in your own life? Are you the one calling the shots? Or are you just reacting to whatever script gets handed to you? Because every day you have a choice to take the pen and write, or to sit back and let someone else write it for you. And don't kid yourself. That choice isn't just once, it's every single moment you're awake. Every time you decide to push through pain instead of tapping out. Every time you choose discipline over comfort. Every time you choose to face the fear instead of hiding from it. That's the real secret meeting, the one between you and yourself. And the problem is most people never even show up to it. They keep postponing it until it's too late, until their life is just a series of scenes they barely remember, and then they wonder why they feel empty. So let me ask you straight: what are you hiding from? What truth do you already know but keep burying under noise? Because it's not convenient to face it. You want to talk about control. You want to talk about freedom. Start there. Stop worrying about meetings you'll never be invited to, and start thinking about the conversations you refuse to have with yourself. Because here's the twist: once you master that, once you get brutally honest with yourself, once you stop running, you become dangerous. Not dangerous in a violent way, dangerous because you can't be bought, can't be distracted, can't be herded into the pen with the rest of the sheep. And they hate that the system, the game, the people who thrive on your weakness. They hate a mind they can't control. And it's not easy to get there. You're going to have to fight yourself harder than you've ever fought anyone else. You're going to have to tear down every lie you've told yourself, every excuse you've built brick by brick, and rebuild from nothing. And that takes pain, that takes discipline, that takes being willing to be the bad guy in your own story for a while, because growth isn't pretty growth. is ugly, it's uncomfortable, it's lonely, but it's real. And once you've tasted that real, there's no going back. So maybe that's the point. Maybe the whole world is just a series of secret meetings, deals we'll never hear about, and maybe the only meeting that matters is the one you keep avoiding. You want to when you want to live free, you want to stop being a pawn, stop waiting for permission, stop waiting for the truth to be handed to you, go rip it out of the ground yourself. And when you do, hold it tight, because the world will try to take it back. They'll try to convince you it's not real. They'll try to drown you in noise again. But if you've built yourself strong enough, if you've trained your mind hard enough, if you've sharpened your discipline deep enough, they can't touch you. And that's the moment you stop just watching the game and start playing it on your own terms. Here's the thing, once you start playing life on your own terms, you start seeing how many people never even realized they had the option. They're stuck in a loop following rules. They never agreed to running a race. They never signed up for chasing trophies that were designed to keep them from noticing the chains on their ankles. And when you're free, when you've broken those chains, you see it everywhere, the way people cling to comfort, the way they defend their own prison, because they're scared of the open door. And you start to understand why those secret meetings happen. It's not just about politics or power, it's about control, control of narrative, control of perception, control of how billions of people spend their thoughts, their energy, their lives. Because here's the brutal truth: if you control the mind, you control the body, you control the money, you control the future, and they know that's so. They feed you distractions like a slow drip poison: entertainment, gossip, fake outrage, false choices, left or right, red or blue, this or that. Like it matters, like the whole thing isn't rigged from the top down. And if you say that out loud, they'll call you crazy or a conspiracy theorist, because that's easier than admitting they're asleep, easier than waking up and doing the work of becoming truly free. And you've got to understand the work isn't just reading a few books or watching a documentary. It's tearing apart everything you thought was true, every belief, every habit, every automatic reaction. It's standing in front of the mirror and asking, who the hell am I, without all the programming, without all the noise, without the labels, the job title, the family expectations, the social media persona, the story you tell to make yourself feel okay. Who are you when all that is stripped away? Most people never answer that question because it's terrifying. It's like pulling the plug on a machine you've been living inside your whole life and realizing you've never actually used your own hands before. And here's where it gets uncomfortable: the same forces that keep those meetings in shadows are the same forces that benefit from you never asking that question, because the second you do, you start taking back power, not the kind you vote for, not the kind you buy, but the kind no one can take away: your mind, your will, your discipline. And that's why discipline matters more than anything, because it's the weapon they can't touch. They can freeze your bank account, they can shut down your platform, they can take your stuff. But if you've trained your mind, they can't break you. And that's what scares them the most: a human being who can't be broken. That's what scares the people who run the game, because the game only works if you're fragile, if you're dependent, if you're afraid. And once you stop being afraid, you're out of their reach. Think about that for a second. Fear is the leash, discipline is the knife that cuts it. And I don't mean discipline like just going to the gym or eating clean. That's the surface level. I'm talking about the discipline to shut off your phone when you want to scroll, the discipline to stay silent when you want to prove your point, the discipline to keep moving toward your vision when the world is screaming at you to quit. That kind of discipline. That's where real freedom lives, and that's why this isn't just a story about some meeting between a CIA agent and bin Laden. This is about meetings you will never see and moves you will never hear about, but that shape the world you live in. And the only way to survive that kind of world is to stop being a spectator and start being a player, to stop reacting to the script and start writing your own. And that's hard because everything in the system is designed to make you reactive. Think about how your day is set up: notifications, emails, news, headlines. Something happens, you react. Someone says something, you react. A situation changes, you react. You live your whole life on defense, never realizing you could be on offense. And here's the secret: offense doesn't mean being aggressive, it means being intentional. It means deciding what your life will be before someone else decides for you. It means knowing what you value and cutting away everything that doesn't serve that. And you've got to be ruthless about it. You've got to be willing to disappoint people, to walk away from situations, to say no without explaining yourself. And that's where most people fold because they want freedom, but they also want approval, they want truth, but they also want comfort. And you can't have both. The world doesn't work like that. If you want to be free, you have to accept the cost, the loneliness, the misunderstandings, the judgment, the whispers behind your back. You've got to be okay with being the villain in someone else's story if it means being the hero in your own. And once you cross that line, you reel. Something wild, the same tactics they use to control the masses, you can use to control yourself. Narrative, discipline, focus, repetition. It's all psychology. It's all conditioning. You can either be conditioned by the system or you can condition yourself. And that's where the real shift happens, because when you start conditioning yourself, when you start building your own mental architecture, nothing they do can touch you. The chaos out there stops affecting the clarity in here. And you move through life like a ghost in their machine, untouchable, unpredictable, unstoppable. And yeah, they'll still try, they'll still throw fear at you, they'll still try to bait you with distractions, they'll still whisper lies in your ear, but you'll hear it for what it is: noise. And when you can hear the noise without dancing to its rhythm, you win. You're free, you've broken the spell. And maybe that's the real secret. Maybe the reason these meetings happen in the dark is because the light is too powerful. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you know it, you can't unknow it. And once you taste that kind of freedom, you'll never swallow the chains again. So ask yourself, are you ready to see it? Are you ready to pay the price for it? Are you ready to stop being an extra in someone else's movie and start being the damn director? Because nobody's going to hand you that role. You have to take it. You have to demand it with every action, every choice, every sacrifice. And when you do, when you finally sit in that chair and call the shots, you'll realize something insane. The world hasn't changed, you have. And that's all it ever was. They weren't holding you down. You were holding yourself down. And that's real meeting, the one where you sit across from the version of you that's been hiding, and you decide who walks away from that table. Because when you walk away from that table, it's not just you walking away, it's every version of you that could have been trapped forever. It's the kid who was told to stay in line, the teenager who swallowed every lie, the adult who played it safe because that's what everyone said was smart. You walk away with all of them behind you and all of them inside you, and that's when you realize the chains were never made of steel. They were made of belief that you weren't enough, belief that the system was unbeatable, belief that you were just one person, so what could you do? And that's the most dangerous lie they ever sold you, because history isn't changed by systems, it's changed by people, one person at a time, who decided to stop following orders and start following truth. And yeah, that sounds romantic, but it's not pretty, it's brutal, because the moment you step out of the crowd, lights hit you, the criticism hits you, the fear hits you like a wave, and you either plant your feet or you get swept right back into the current. And that's why most people stay in the dark, not because they don't see the light, but because they're not ready for the heat that comes with it. So you've got to be ready, you've got to train for it like it's war, because in a way it is war, not the kind with guns and bombs, but the kind that happens in silence, in your head, in your habits, in the choices you make when no one is watching. That's the battlefield, and you're on it every damn day, and the enemy isn't just out there in suits and offices and closed door meetings. The enemy is in here whispering, just take it easy, just blend in, just do what you're told. And every time you listen, you hand over a little more of yourself, until one day there's nothing left and you don't even know when it happened. So you've got to fight back every day, and that fight doesn't look like some big Hollywood moment. Most of the time it's small. It's getting up when you want to stay in bed. It's telling the truth when lying would be easier. It's saying no to things that waste your time even when they feel good in moment. It's looking in the mirror and refusing to let yourself slide. And over time, those small wins, they stack up, and they turn you into someone the system can't use, someone the world can't predict, someone they can't control. And that's the point, because when you're in control of yourself, you're immune to their games. They can't bait you with fear, they can't lure you with comfort, they can't break you with pain. And that's why they work so hard to keep you soft, to keep you distracted, to keep you tired, because a sharp mind is dangerous, and a strong will is lethal to their control. But here's the thing, no one's going to sharpen your mind for you, no one's going to build your will for you. You've got to do it yourself every day, without applause, without anyone cheering, without any promise of reward. Accept the knowledge that you're becoming the kind of person who can't be played, and yeah, it's lonely, yeah, it's exhausting, yeah. It will make you question why you're even doing it, but then one day something clicks, you see through the noise like it's glass, you hear the lies, and they don't stick, you feel the fear, and it doesn't stop you, and you realize you've crossed a line you're not coming back from, and that's the line they hope you never find, because once you do, you're out of their reach. And here's the wild part, once you're out, you start pulling other people out, not by lecturing them, not by forcing them, but just by being free, because freedom is contagious, people see it. And something deep inside them stirs, they remember, they were meant for more, they start asking questions, they start waking up, and that's why they want to keep you down, not because you might win for yourself, but because you might inspire others to break out too, and then the whole game changes, and maybe that's the real fear behind those secret meetings. Maybe it's not the enemy they're worried about, maybe it's us waking up, maybe it's the thought that one day enough people will see the strings and realize the puppets aren't in charge, the audience is, and that's why the first battle is always inside. Because if they can keep you weak in here, they don't have to fight you out there, so stop giving them that power, stop letting them set the terms of your life, stop waiting for someone to save you, no one's coming at you, it's always been you. And when you get that, when you really let that sink in, you stop hesitating, you stop looking for permission, you stop caring about the noise, and you start moving with purpose. And here's the part. Nobody tells you once you start living like that, you're going to scare yourself, you're going to see how far you can go, how much you can take, how much you can change. And it's going to blow your mind because you've been carrying that potential the whole time. It was just buried under all the crap they piled on you. And once you dig it out, once you see it in your own hands, there's no going back. You'll fight to protect it, you'll fight to grow it, you'll fight to make sure no one can ever bury it again. And that's the fight that matters, because if you win that one, nothing else can touch you. So yeah, maybe somewhere in a room far away, a CIA agent sat across from Bin Laden and made a deal or played a game or traded a secret. Maybe somewhere right now other meetings are happening that will never make the news, but here's the truth, none of it matters. If you're still a prisoner in your own head, so start. There, win that war, and the rest takes care of itself. When you win that war in your head, you stop living like a victim and start living like a weapon not made to destroy, but to cut through the lies, the weakness, the fear that's been handed to you since the day you were born. And once you're there, once you've seen yourself in that light, you can't unsee it, and you won't want to. You'll realize the people you thought were strong are often the weakest, and the people you thought were untouchable are often the most afraid. And you'll see the whole game for what it is, moves and counter moves, smoke and mirrors, all designed to keep you looking left while the real power is being taken on the right. And you'll stop falling for it, you'll stop reacting to every little headline, every fake crisis, every outrage trap they set, because you'll know it's just bait, and instead you'll put your energy into building, into training, into learning, into becoming something they can't stop. And here's the truth, when you do that, the world starts to bend around you, doors open that you never saw before, paths appear that were invisible when you were distracted. And the crazy part is it was always there, you just couldn't see it because you were too busy playing their game. Now you're playing yours, and that's when life starts to feel like yours, not borrowed, not rented, not on loan, truly yours. And you stop being scared of losing because you finally understand you can't lose what's inside you. They can take everything else, but they can't take that. And that's when you become dangerous, not because you're reckless, but because you're untouchable. And that's the kind of person who changes things, the kind of person who turns the tide, who breaks the cycle, who sets a new standard. And that's the one thing they can't plan for. They can predict weakness. They can predict fear, but they can't predict someone who refuses to quit, someone who refuses to bow, someone who refuses to play by rules that were never made for them. So maybe you're listening to this right now thinking, man, that's too big, that's too much. Maybe you're thinking, what can I do against a system that's been running for decades? And I'll tell you exactly what you can do. You can win your next decision. You can take back the next moment. You can make the next choice without fear, without weakness, without compromise, because that's how revolutions start, not with one giant move, but with one person deciding they're done being a pawn, and if you do that and you stick with it and you stack enough of those decisions over time, you'll look up one day and realize you've become the kind of person you always wished you were, and you'll realize no meeting, no deal, no hidden room of powerful people can take that away from you, and maybe then you'll understand the real power isn't in the room, it's in the mirror. And when you get that, you stop waiting, you stop hoping, you start doing. So here's what I want from you: stop just nodding along, stop treating this like another piece of motivation. You'll forget in an hour if this hit you, if this woke something up in you, then act on it today, right now. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Don't wait for someone to tell you it's time. Don't wait for permission. Start building your mind, your will, your discipline, because if you don't, you're already losing. And if you do, you're already winning. And if this message lit a fire in you, if it made you think, if it made you uncomfortable in the right way, then don't keep it to yourself. Send it to someone who needs to hear it. Share it with the people who are ready to wake up. Drop a comment with the one truth you're ready to face and hit that, like so we know you're in the fight, because this isn't about numbers, this is about building an army of minds they can't control. So let's start right here, right now. You, me, everyone listening. This is the meeting they didn't plan for, and it starts with you.